Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Enemies List podcast on the Lincoln Square Network. I'm your host, as always, Rick Wilson. I wanted to start today by just saying that Donald Trump cannot gaslight the economy into his preferred form of reality. These are actual numbers that are starting to come out now. We're seeing the decline in job numbers. We're seeing the damage the trade war has done. We're seeing the chaos it's caused. There's going to be a lot of talk in the next few weeks where Trump asserts U.S. economy is doing better than it's ever been. It's all magical. It's all perfect. It's all lovely. Don't buy it. Don't fall for it. It's horseshit, and you know it. We are going to have a lot of numbers. He's going to try to go to war with the Fed again. He's going to try to get Powell fired again. It can't happen, by the way. I've seen that start to pop up as they try to distract from Elon, as they try to distract from the damage of the big, beautiful bill. And I think that we're right now in a moment where Trump's really going to need somebody to try to tell an optimistic story for him, and it's real hard to find one right now. Boo-hoo, pal. We're going to be back here today again with another edition of questions from the audience. We've been refining this process a little bit because it's such a popular segment. And oh my God, we had like 250 questions. I can't get to them all in one thing. Keep sending them in. It's fantastic. I love the interaction. Okay, from Adam Berg. He asked, is Trump a Russian spy? The real question, Adam, is if he was not a Russian spy, how could you tell? It's not that he's a spy. A spy is a specific person recruited by an intelligence officer to steal classified information from a foreign power. Trump volunteers it. He gives it up. Why buy the cow when the milk is free, as they say? Look, Trump loves Putin. He loves Russia. He loves the idea of Putin as this strong man, this macho figure. And he's always been enamored of Russia. I've written a lot about this. He's always loved Russia. He's always sort of thought it was this untapped kleptocratic opportunity because he recognized, game recognizes game. And when he saw Russia in the pre-Cold War ending period, right? Remember, Trump started flirting with Russia in 1986, well before the end of the Cold War. Went there in 1987 for some interestingly enough reasons, and then got back and immediately ran full-page ads about how bad America was and how great Russia was. Money, ideology, compromise, and ego always attract intelligence officers to spies. Trump's vulnerable on all those fronts. So again, if he's not, there's no way you could tell. If he is, it's the most obvious thing in the world, and that's not what you want out of a spy. Look, Putin is able to manipulate Trump's emotions, to flatter him, to stroke his ego, to play games with Trump's headspace all the time. I don't think he's a spy. I think he's worse. I think he's a fellow traveler. I think he's a sycophant to Putin. I think he's an ass kisser. I think he's a guy who has been manipulated by someone much more sophisticated and intelligent than he is. And I know you're thinking, well, why can't ordinary kitchen mold manipulate Donald Trump? In this case with Putin, it is brilliant. He's a brilliant manipulator, and he played Trump like a fiddle, always has, always will. Okay, next question is from Andrew Miller. Mr. Wilson and the LP team, we're getting President Vance, aren't we? Trump is declining year over year. He reminds me of our relatives who've gone through the same phases. I don't think it's a good idea to not recognize reality, however, much the GOP has done so with few electoral consequences. Trump is declining. He is showing the signs of the gravity of his age taking over. You can tell he's not as cogent. He's not as sharp. The Trump of 2024 is not the Trump of today, and certainly not the Trump of 2020 or 2016. It's a very different guy from those periods. But Andrew, I think that there is a degree to which J.D. Vance is readying himself to become president. That's why he's building relationships with Laura Loomer and all these crazies on the alt-right, and why he is suddenly putting himself out there a lot more to the Edge Case podcast and trying to keep up his special relationships with the Peter Thiel and the Silicon Valley guys, because they would love nothing more than J.D. Vance to take over. They would love nothing more to have J.D. Vance, a guy they bought already, roll in there. I do think there's another much smaller prospect, is that at some point it will get so bad that even among the thieves and hooligans of this administration, there's a 25th Amendment press. Vance would do it reluctantly. Oh my God, the last minute. But the entire cabinet came to me and I had to put the good of the country first, for my beloved president can no longer serve. It's horseshit, but it ain't out of the question. Low probability. Going to go now to Craig Davis. Craig says, hey, Rick, what's with all the pardons of white-collar criminals? Does he see himself in these people? Does he want them to owe him a favor? Have they been generous campaign contributors? Or is he trying to send a signal to undermine the perceived legitimacy of white-collar prosecutions? I haven't heard a lot of justification for these pardons, just that the individuals had been forgiven. All of the above. It's all of the above. Remember, he's also pardoning violent felons and violent criminals who attack Capitol. Trump believes that a lot of the people he's pardoned are Bitcoin guys. They are. And that they're going to be of utility to him as he puts together his whole meme coin scamorama that he's been doing. But the lawlessness, I wrote an article about this a few months ago. You can find it on my Substack called The Lawlessness is the Point. Being a lawless chaos monkey is the point. Triggering normal people when you do outrageous things like pardoning these absolute criminals is the point. They are looking to make the world more chaotic. They're looking to reward bad behavior. These are bad actors. These are not good guys. These are not like, straight up businessmen who got caught up in some mistake. These are bad people, including a guy who ran street gangs in Chicago. That was a kind of a poser. He's talking about pardoning Diddy. Look, it could happen. I don't know, but it could happen. So you got to look at this, I think, Craig, as a signal to scumbags. You can buy me and I'll pardon you. A lot of these pardons have been pay to play and been paid for by people who said, oh, well, I'm going to give Trump $1 million and suddenly their kid gets free. A lot of it is about sending that signal over and over again. White collar crime doesn't matter. Corruption doesn't matter. Everybody does it. It's a smart question, Craig, because Trump is again trying to bring everyone else down to his low level. He's Daniel Patrick Moynihan, the U.S. Senator from New York, used to say that we've been defining deviancy down. Well, this is defining deviancy and criminality way down. Sissy Crawford, can an audit or survey be posted to see if anyone actually received the $1 million from Musk for going from typical Democrat to voting to Republican? Isn't it a bribe or other violation? Not a lawyer, but you can't pay someone for a vote. Now, I think they wrangled it somehow or another. Turned out the people that got, two of the people that got it were like young Republicans or something. Oh, what a coincidence. Elon spent a lot of money for Trump in the general election and in Wisconsin, and they were throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. Illegal, probably. Prosecutable in this world? Not really. Not a bad question, but it is the sort of tactic we have to be aware of. Jim LeBoon, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Jim. If not, I apologize. Hi, Rick. I have a theory on why Trump is creating so much havoc and pain on the American people. I believe Trump is attempting to recreate George Floyd-style demonstrations and hopefully riots he can use as a pretense to declare martial law. If the demonstrations get Trump become violent, then he can declare martial law and suspend the 26 elections. It's really important to those of us that demonstrate against the Trump administration to ensure our demonstrations are peaceful. I'm interested in your take on my theory. If you agree, then those of you in the media influencer realm need to comment on this and risk in your commentaries. I appreciate all the work you do. Like you, I'm in the fight till the end to save the world's greatest democracy. All the best, Jim LeBoon. Jim, you absolutely have to keep it peaceful in these protests. Trump is trying to provoke violent protests. He wants that to be the case. It's one of the reasons that ICE is doing so much aggressively shitty stuff in front of people. They want pushback. They want violence. They want to give Trump the excuse he needs to shut down 26. He would love that. So folks, I agree with that theory. I think that there's a lot of merit to that theory. And I think that Trump as a strategic thinker is not super strong, but he has a great feral instinct. He has a gut. He has a real powerful internal monologue about what works, what causes emotional reactions, what causes them to, people in his base particularly, to respond favorably to him. They loved the Black Lives Matter narrative. They loved it. And this is why, by the way, he's talking about pardoning Derek Chauvin, the man who murdered George Floyd. This is why you're seeing this big push on the right to start the drumbeat. Oh, Floyd was a criminal who died of overdose. No, Derek Chauvin murdered him. Now they want Black Lives Matter Part 2. They want to show the white nationalists, hey, we're the guys who protect you. We're the ones. I think it is incredibly dangerous. I think it is incredibly irresponsible. I think it is typical Trump. They want to see violence. They're going to provoke it if they can't get it organically. So you got to watch yourselves. Got to be careful of these things. You got to not be provoked. You got to not fall for the provocation that they're going to try to throw in front of you. These peaceful protests against ICE need to stay that way. They need to be loud and constant. But I think it's difficult to look at 2026 and keep the current trajectory if you end up with long, hot summer violence in the street theory. But look, here's what they're going to try to make that election about. Immigration, trans athletes, stop me if you've heard this song before, and violent crime in the streets. Antifa, which is always bullshit. Antifa was always bullshit. There's like 30 kids in the Black Bloc Club out there in fucking Portland. There's no like broader actual Antifa. But look, we are going to be confronted with provocation. If he pardons Derek Chauvin still goes to prison for the rest of his life because it's state charges. He can't pardon those. All of this though, and Jim, it's a terrific question. All this really adds up to a couple of things that play to Trump's feral cunning, his sense of how to cause the outrage machine, how to rev up the machine to get the base voters, the GOP, where he wants them. I think we've got a greater risk of that happening next summer than this summer, but it's one we should all be mindful of. Okay, I have a question about AI. With the new Google VO producing lifelike AI, are we going to see deep fakes of Democratic candidates, etc.? Look, the deep fakes don't have to be perfect for people to buy into them, to be outraged by them. The MAGA folks that are outraged by information like, this is a photograph of Jeffrey Epstein's clock. Look at it. It proves their standard is pretty low. But AI is accelerating at a pace that is now logarithmic, not linear. By the time the next election rolls around in 26, the tools that right now look amazing will be primitive stone knives and bearskin stuff. So we are going to see AI play a massive, profound role in the coming election. Now, we're using some AI tools now. We disclaim it. We say this is generated by AI, and a lot of it you can tell, and we want you to be able to tell. We deliberately make it so you can tell. But the nefarious uses of AI will be to produce a realistic looking picture of a woman who says, I saw Congressman John Smith, a Democrat, plotting to murder a cop with MS-13 members, and here's the video. You will get that. It will be coming very quickly. And the sophistication of it and the improvements in voice and automation and having the right number of fingers and all those little things are getting solved very quickly. You will not find yourself disappointed if you start planning ahead and being much more skeptical of what you're watching. Again, we've made a commitment at Lincoln Project. We will use AI tools for creative purposes. We will tell you when we're using them for creative purposes. There will be an AI ad that you will see. Let me see, I'm recording this on Wednesday. You will see it on Thursday, June the 5th, that has AI. And it's fucking hilarious. Shh, don't tell anybody. The AI stuff is going to influence the elections going forward, all of them going forward. You're going to end up with advertising that is customized just to you, showing you the kind of images and faces and messages that move your vote. It's incredibly manipulative. It's incredibly personal, but it is where the political fight is going. We will not leave you behind in this fight. We're going to, be able to apply these tools too. There are two industries that always pick up new technologies first. The porn industry, which when VHS came out, the porn industry was in movie theaters, weird, janky ones, sticky ones, but it then became something in everybody's home with the VHS player. They jumped to laser discs very quickly after that, and DVD. They jumped online. They're now using generative AI. The other institution that always gets into technology immediately is the Republican Party. They will move fast. They will do things that are incredibly destructive. They will laugh about it. They will sue me. So we will have defensive capabilities in that regard and, if necessary, offensive capabilities. But AI is going to radically alter campaigns. It is going to radically change the tenor, the tone, the style, the targeting. All of this is coming very quickly. And we're trying to be as ready for it as we can. And we're pretty technologically savvy around these parts. But it is something we cannot underscore or underestimate in this fight ahead. It really is something that I think you've got to keep an eye on, and you've got to not hit retweet or share or like until you look at something and go, okay, real, not real, bullshit, reality. We are going to be living in the Matrix, Mr. Anderson, whether you like it or not. So that is something I think we're really going to have to keep an eye on. Final question from Renee. Oh, what do you say to congressmen who are going along with cuts in their districts that are cutting funding for farmers and universities and things like that? Look, you have to say it directly to them. You have to communicate with members of Congress. You have to go at them. I've said this a lot. You have to call their district office, and then you call their Washington office, and you keep doing it. You keep leaving the messages. You keep politely, firmly. Why are you cutting my University of Oklahoma agriculture program? Why are you cutting science program here or medical program there? Because they are putting us back in a new dark age. They want that. You're going to see scientists fleeing to Europe and to China. The rest of the world's going to have a brain drain from America because of this. But you have to say to your congressman, I don't want you to cut my university. Why are you doing this? Why won't you speak up for us? And as they're Republicans generally, they say, oh, you're going to cut federal spending goes to deficit. No, you're good paying a $4 trillion tax cut for Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, but you're not good at putting $20 million into a new vaccine for AIDS. or what have you. This is an example of where the harm in your districts is very intimate and measurable and clean, and you're able to understand it. They're able to know that you know what you're talking about, and they're going to freak out. We're gonna try to put that back. Well, why'd you vote against cutting it in the first place? Why haven't you spoken up before? Why haven't you said Doge is wrong? We shouldn't cut the 8 FAA controllers in this tower where we have 20 controllers right now. All this is important. All this is, I think, vital. And you've got to send a signal to these Republican congressmen. It will scare the shit out of them because they're getting shaky. They understand there are consequences coming, but you can help make them a little more. Good questions, everybody. Thank you as always. I appreciate you all for listening to the Enemies List. We will be back again next week with more insights on the terrible people trying to wreck this country and scourging the hell out of them. Folks, you can also catch me on the Lincoln Project podcast. You can catch my appearances every Tuesday, or almost every Tuesday, on the strategy session on Lincoln Square, on the breakdown from the Lincoln Project. You can also catch me on Substack at the Rick Wilson. I put out a good amount of content every week, and we do some lives over there with some really smart and interesting people. I hope you'll join us. Thanks, everybody. Talk again soon. Bye-bye.